Hey everybody, I'm Hamza Krumza, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to do a standard 22 population man-at-arms build on Arabia. I'm going to be using the Magyars to make sure that we have no type of economy bonus that's going to be able to help us out, and I'll also be trying to show you how to use your villagers to wall and kind of try and stay safe during a 1v1. Hope you enjoy. So to kick us off here, this man-at-arms rush build is pretty difficult, I would say, and it's definitely a tight build, but I think that if you execute it correctly, it's going to put a lot of pressure on your opponent and make sure that they're using a lot of their resources, especially their wood, early on to wall off their resources. I think that a lot of the strength of this build comes from the fact that you're forcing idle time using your militia and that you're using your man-at-arms to force that idle time. Of course, you're going to follow this up with some archers, so this makes this build potentially a game ender. It's something that I think gets very messy if you get counter-rated by, let's say scouts or, just an opponent's rush, but I think it's still pretty effective. Up on screen here now is a personal tier list of some civilizations that I think do well using the men-at-arms rush, with the Britons having discounted archers, the Aztecs having a great feudal economy, and just any civilization that has a pretty good transition for Castle Age builds. You can pause the video here if you want to get a better look at the civs. But with that being said, let's go get it. All right, and let's get started. So first off, we're going to build two houses, and we're going to use our sheep to go and scout the perimeter of our base. So let's queue these up and send them around. We're also going to send our scout to make sure that they are going around the perimeter that isn't overlapping with the sheep, and also to kind of find our wood lines. We're also going to send the first 7 population over to our sheep, so it's kind of a standard opening there. And we are just going to keep looking, and it looks like we found our wood lines for the most part with our sheep here, so we're going to start sending some of them back so that we don't have any type of delay with aging up or delay with any parts of this build. Like I said earlier, this is a very tight build. We don't really want to go off track here. For the 8th population, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, so 4 are going to go onto our wood line. We're going to go build a lumber camp with this villager, and we are going to go and do some scouting. We're also going to do a nice little trick here with this wood villager. We're going to trap them in, just like that. And that's more of a max efficiency type of thing, but the most important thing is that you're just building a lumber camp there. Looks like we found our sheep there. Awesome. So now we have 6 of our 8, and it's very important for this build that we find all 8. And there we go. Perfect. So now we have all 8 of our sheep. We see both of our boars there up in the northwest corner of the screen. And we are looking pretty good so far. So what do we need to do here? So now we're going to have our 11th population villager popping out into wood pretty soon. But what we want to do is we want to time this 12th villager to go with the boar, and to have the boar the second this sheep runs out. So what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to put a villager into the town center, release them, and go grab the boar with that villager instead of the 12th villager. Just because I think that by the time I get there, this villager is, or the sheep will be finished. But the sheep would have been finished much earlier had we sent the 12th villager. So we're going to kill the boar. We're going to send that 13th villager over there to build a house. Okay, so we're going to build 2 houses here. We're going to send the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th villager over to build a mill and go to berries. So perfect. Looks like we got a good mill there. We see the enemy berries now, so we know where their base is. And we're going to make sure that we're doing some force drops to make sure that we have food. We're also going to use this villager to wall a gap, and it just so happens that there's a gap right here. So this is where we're going to be walling that gap with this villager. And we're not going to use these sheep. And when we're walling that gap there, what that's doing is it's really just taking away a way for the enemy to come in and raid our base there. What we're also doing is we're sending another villager from Boar over to grab the second Boar, and our 18th and our 19th population villager are going to go onto the boar. So, right now you should have 4 on berries, 1 walling, the rest on 4 on wood, and the rest onto your boar. And it looks like we're doing well so far. Perfect. Okay, so we're just exploring with the scout. Generally, what you would want to be doing at this time with your scout is exploring the enemy base, but I don't really want to do that since it's just the AI. But what we're going to do with our 20th population villager is we're going to go and build a barracks. You see now how this berry villager that was walling is actually now going to berries, so we'll have 5 on berries. We're going to build a barracks with this villager. And then we're also going to, once this villager is done building the barracks, we're going to send them over to wood. But for the 21 and 22 population villagers, we're going to go and put them onto gold and then research Loom. So we're going to have 9 villagers underneath the town center that are going to be finishing up on this boar here in just a second. We're going to take care of this enemy scout. And doing a good job, doing a good job. Okay, perfect. And then we are going to consume a sheep with all 9 of those villagers. Now it's going to be pretty tough, but we're going to do the best that we can. We're going to research Loom. We're going to build another house next to our barracks. And this villager doesn't fit here, which is fine. We're just going to try to age up, and there we go. So now that we've aged up, we're going to send 3 of our villagers onto wood from the sheep, and then we're going to send the villager who was building the barracks over to wood as well. And once they have 100 wood, they'll go and build their own lumber camp. What you also want to be doing right now is you want to be building your 3 militia as quickly as you possibly can. So the second you get 60 food, you want to be building another militia. So right now we have 1, and we want to get 3 militia, and we want them in close proximity of the enemy base, because we want to be harassing them, you know, a little bit with militia, make sure that we're forcing some idle time, and also we want to make sure that when we upgrade to man-at-arms, we have a strong idea of where the enemy is and, you know, where we can pressure the positions. We're also going to try with the 6 sheep villagers that are underneath gathering sheep. We are going to be building 4 farms and sending 2 to wood once all the sheep expire. So just build as many farms as you can while this is happening, and we're about to hit feudal. So we're going to research man-at-arms, and we're going to research double bit axe, and then we're going to create as many villagers as we possibly can, which should only be 1. Yep. So now we have double bit axe, we have man-at-arms upgrading, and we are going to start building our farms now. We're going to start harassing with our man-at-arms. As you can see, we actually do have a man-at-arms, you know, kind of trapped next to the barracks there. It's pretty unfortunate, actually. But what you're also going to do is all new villagers, when you're building from in feudal age, are going to be going onto wood until you have at least 12 on wood. And we're also going to be building 2 archery ranges when we can, and when we have our 2 farms. So we're looking pretty good here. We now have our 12 on wood, and we're going to build an archery range. And now we're going to aim to put 8 on gold. We're going to build a house, make sure we don't get housed. And once we have our 8 on gold, we'll actually be able to maintain and consistent archer production. So once that archery range gets built, then we'll be able to do, you know, the archers. What you're also going to have during this build at some point, let's say you get a little bit distracted with, you know, microing, or if the enemy is raiding your base and you end up having a large amount of resources that you shouldn't have at this point, I would absolutely recommend that you use extra resources to research horse collar, and that will put you in a really good spot for what we're going to be doing a little bit later on. I'd also, just in general, whenever you can, if you can afford it, once you had some like idle time in your town center, I would absolutely recommend getting a horse collar there. Now, once we have our 2 archery ranges, we're going to want to go and build a blacksmith. What I also want to note here is how we're making sure that all of our buildings are part of a wall. So we're keeping up constant archer production. We're actually running our man-at-arms underneath the town center there. but we're going to be maintaining constant archer production here. And once we have our 8 onto gold, we're going to be making sure that we send all new villagers over to wood, but every time we have 60 wood, we're going to build a farm. So as you can see here, we have less than 12 on wood right now, but that's because we're building walls, we're building houses, we're building blacksmith, archery ranges, all those things. And we're making sure we clog the gaps there, making sure that our opponent can only come in from one direction. Okay, perfect. And our berries are about to run out here. So once our berries do run out, we're going to want to put them onto our wood line. But we're also, again, building farms until we have every 60 wood that we have. Now, it's going to be a little bit difficult to strike a balance between building farms and building archers because they both take up wood. But I would say that archers are more of your priority at this point because, you know, in a real game, you're going to be losing archers to, you know, potentially skirmishers, the army that your opponent has. So building your army mass up here is actually very, very important. We're also going to want to research fleshing, and we just did it there. You can do it a little bit earlier, but that's kind of dependent on when you want the timing. Generally, I see people do it around 6. I like to do it around 8 or 10, just so I can make sure I have constant archer production there. And let's make sure that we're continuing to build houses. And we have about 11 on food. Perfect. And we're building up a nice little archer mass here. So this would be very, very threatening to your opponent. And we're going to keep building these farms. Okay. So around 13 to 15 farms. We're also going to make sure that we research Wheelbarrow. And the reason why we're going to want to do this is we now have a critical mass of villagers at play that will benefit from actually researching Wheelbarrow and will make our economy run much more smoothly. So keeping archer production, keeping houses built, making sure not to get housed. And what we're aiming for here actually is around 38 villagers. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep trying for that 18 farms. 17 farms, 18 farms, whatever is, you know, going to work out for you. And making sure that we keep that archer production rolling. So it may turn here, and usually this doesn't happen just because of some micros going to take up some of your time when you're actually raiding the enemy base. We're going to have some idle time on our TC here after we build this villager because we don't have enough food to actually go up. But what you should be aiming for is 38 villagers, 12 on wood, 18 on food, 8 on gold. What's going to end up here is around 17 on food, 13 on wood, and 8 on gold. And we're going to idle the TC at this point, and we're going to wait for our castle age. Now you can be harassing with these men-at-arms. Obviously, this whole time, you're going to be harassing with these archers. You're probably not going to have to build as many houses as I have during this build just because your army will perish, whether it's the towers and the units or whatever. We're going to make sure we click up to castle age, and perfect. So now that we're up to castle age, we can do a lot of things here. We can save up for 2 town centers. We can save up for another archery range. We can be constantly producing archers from here. We can start to build stables, go into maybe a stable switch. There's a lot of things that you can do once you actually have the critical mass of archers here, and your build is pretty flexible. So what I would recommend normally is generally in a civilization that you're going for men-at-arms, you're going to want to upgrade these archers into crossbows and going some type of archer play, and it looks like our AI is going to resign here. And there we are. So, if you do have any questions about this build, I'm more than happy to answer. This is what our economy should be looking like right now. And, I love making these videos. I think they're, a lot of fun, and I like providing a modern look at what the build order should be. So let me know if you have any suggestions. Let me know if you want to see anything else, or if you want any specific build orders. And have a good day.